If you own an appliance repair company, you've probably spent a lot of time thinking about one question. How do I get more service calls? And that makes sense. Appliance repair companies spend thousands of dollars trying to get the phone to ring. Google ads, local service ads, SEO, lead companies, pay-per-call, your Google business profile, all of those can work. But there's one problem. If you acquire a customer, complete the repair, collect the payment, and never build a relationship with the customer, tomorrow you're right back where you started, paying someone to find you another customer. And I want to make something clear right at the beginning. I'm not against buying leads. I've spent years generating leads for appliance repair companies. I've seen companies use paid leads to keep one technician busy, and I've worked with larger companies that needed enough volume to keep multiple technicians on the road. So the problem isn't necessarily how you acquire the customer. The problem is what happens after you acquire them. I have talked before about a concept I call stop renting customers. The danger of building a business that's completely dependent on platforms and lead sources you don't control. Today, I want to take that next step. I want to show you what you can actually build from customers those channels generate. That's what I call the customer ownership system. This is the traditional appliance repair marketing cycle. You spend money or time acquiring a customer. Maybe the customer came from Google ads. Maybe local service ads. Maybe SEO. Maybe you bought the lead. Maybe they found your Google business profile. The technician goes to the home. They diagnose the appliance. They complete the repair. They collect the money. And everyone is happy. But then what happens? For a lot of appliance repair companies, nothing. The customer disappears. So tomorrow, you need another refrigerator repair, another washer repair, another dryer repair. And what do? You go right back to Google, local service ads, your lead company, or whatever acquisition source you're using, and you pay to acquire another customer. That's the cycle I want you to start thinking differently about. Because there's nothing inherently wrong with paying to acquire customers. The mistake is paying to acquire them and then throwing away the relationship. This is probably the most important distinction in this entire presentation. A job is not the same thing as a customer. A lot of us have been trained to think in jobs. How many calls did we get today? How many jobs are on the schedule? How many jobs did the technician complete? What's the average ticket? All important numbers. But I want you to ask yourself a different question. How many customers have your company served over the last 5 years that you never heard from again? Think about that for a second. Maybe it's hundreds. For a larger company, maybe it's thousands. Those people already know your company. You've already been inside their homes. They've already trusted you with one of their appliances. And assuming you provided a good experience, you've already overcome one of the hardest parts of marketing: getting a stranger to trust you enough to become a customer. So before we talk about getting another 1,000 leads, I'd like to know, what happened to the 1,000 customers you already paid to acquire? That's the shift from thinking about jobs to thinking about customers. Here's the difference. The transaction model looks like this. You get a lead, you book the job, you perform the repair, you get paid, and done. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that transaction itself. The problem is that you're not building much from it. Now look at the customer ownership model. You acquire a lead, but instead of thinking only about the job, you recognize that you've acquired a customer relationship. That customer can potentially become a review. They can become part of your customer database. You have an appropriate system to stay connected. When their next appliance breaks, they already know who to call. And when their neighbor says, "Do you know a good appliance repair company?" your company has a chance of becoming that recommendation. So instead of lead to job to payment done, we begin building lead to customer to review to database to stay connected to repeat service to referral. That's customer ownership. And ownership doesn't mean that you literally own the customer. It means you're intentionally building and maintaining the customer relationship, instead of continually surrendering that relationship after every transaction. Let's make this tangible. Imagine your company completes 1,000 appliance repairs this year. At the end of the year, you could have 1,000 invoices. And if that's all you have, you've completed 1,000 transactions. But imagine something different. What if you've systematically captured the customer's information, their name, phone number, email address when appropriate, service history, what appliance you worked on, and you're building a process for reviews and staying connected. Now, those 1,000 repairs aren't just revenue from 1,000 transactions. You're potentially building 1,000 customer relationships. And here's what makes this especially interesting in appliance repair. A customer doesn't own one appliance. They probably have a refrigerator, a washer, a dryer, a dishwasher, a range, maybe even a second refrigerator. Those appliances aren't going to break today. But over the next several years, there's a pretty good chance that customer is going to need appliance service again. The question is, will they remember your company when that happens? That's why the customer relationship itself can become an asset. And that brings me to something I call visibility assets. Most appliance repair companies are already creating some of these. They just may not be thinking about them as assets. Your Google business profile, your reviews, your website, your customer database, photos and videos from real jobs, content demonstrating your repair expertise, and the relationships you've built with customers. These are different from simply buying another click or another lead. You're building things that can contribute value beyond one transaction. A customer review can help the next homeowner trust you. A real repair photo can demonstrate your experience. A useful piece of content can help someone discover your company. Your website can help convert that visitor. And your customer database gives you a way to maintain relationships with people you've already served. The goal isn't to stop advertising. It's to make sure that while you're acquiring customers, you're also building assets. Of all these assets, this may be one of the most overlooked. Your customer database. And when I say database, don't get hung up on technology. I'm not saying you need some sophisticated CRM before you can do any of this. Your customers may be sitting inside your dispatch software, your invoicing system, QuickBooks, a spreadsheet, email, an old CRM, your phone, maybe several different places. The important realization is this: you've already paid to acquire these customers. Think about how much money appliance repair companies spend trying to acquire a new customer. And then think about how little attention is sometimes paid to people who have already become customers. Some appliance companies have years of customer history sitting inside their systems. Thousands of people they've served, and they've effectively abandoned the marketing asset. That's why one of the first things I encourage you to do after this presentation is simply find out, where is your customer information? How much do you have? What information are you collecting? And do you have an appropriate way to stay connected? Because before spending another dollar trying to reach strangers, it's worth understanding the asset you've already built. Here's another asset you're creating every day without necessarily capturing it. Every successful appliance repair can create what I call a review moment. Think about the end of a successful refrigerator repair. The refrigerator wasn't cooling. The customer was worried about losing hundreds of dollars in food. Your technician diagnosed the problem, completes the repair. The refrigerator is working again. That's the moment. The customer has just experienced the value of your service. Instead of hoping that 6 hours later or 6 days later, they suddenly think, you know what? I should go find this company's Google profile and leave them a review. We can build a process around the review moment. And this is where the human side and automation can work together. Your technician doesn't need to stand over the customer asking for 5 stars. It could be as simple as, "I'm glad we got the refrigerator working for you. You'll receive a quick review request from us." That's it. The technician creates the context, then the system sends the request. I call that human moment, automated execution. Great service creates the opportunity. The system makes sure the opportunity isn't forgotten. But there's another important piece here. Don't let the review become the end of the relationship either. The review is valuable. The customer who left the review may be even more valuable. When you put these pieces together, you start creating what I call the visibility flywheel. You build visibility. The visibility helps customers discover you. Your reviews, websites, reputation, and real evidence of your work help create trust. Trust produces customers. Those customers create reviews. Satisfied customers create referrals. Those reviews, referrals, and customer experiences contribute to more visibility and trust. And the flywheel continues. Compare that to buy lead, do the job, lose the customer, buy another lead. One model continually resets. The other is designed to compound what you're already doing. And again, I'm not telling you to turn off a lead source that's making you money. If Google Ads is working, use Google Ads. If Google Local Service ads are working, use Google Local Service ads. If you're buying profitable leads, buy the leads. If SEO is generating customers, keep investing in SEO. I'm telling you to make every customer those channels produce more valuable. That's the difference. I don't want to finish this presentation thinking you need to rebuild your entire marketing system tomorrow. Start with these 3 things. Number 1, find your customer database. Where are your previous customers? How many are there? What information do you have? You don't need to do anything complicated yet. Just understand what you've already built. Number 2, create your review moment. Look at what happens after a successful repair today. Does the technician say anything? Does a review request go out? If so, when? Does it happen consistently? Number 3, decide how you're going to stay connected. Because if the only time a customer hears from your company is when you're asking them for a review, that's not much of a relationship. Think about how your company can remain useful and relevant after the repair. Those 3 steps alone begin moving you from a transaction model towards customer ownership. Now you might be thinking, okay, I understand the system, but where should I start in my business? And that's an important question because the answer isn't going to be the same for everybody. Maybe your biggest opportunity is your customer database. Maybe you need a better review process. Maybe you've already got 1,000 reviews and your reputation is excellent. Maybe the bigger issue is your Google business profile. Maybe it's your website. Maybe you're simply not getting enough visibility in the first place. We won't know until we look. And that's exactly why we've created the complimentary Visibility Snapshot. We'll personally review your appliance repair company's Google business profile, website, reviews, and other visibility assets, and identify the opportunities we believe deserve your attention first. This isn't an automated SEO score. It's not a generic audit that tells everyone the same thing. And there's no obligation to hire us afterwards. The purpose is to give you a clearer picture of where your business stands today and what I believe you should focus on next. So if you'd like to take us for us to take a look at your business, visit appliancerepairmarketingsecrets.com and request your complimentary visibility snapshot. And remember, don't just acquire the next job. Build the customer relationship. That's how you begin moving from renting customers to customer ownership.